Bitcoin has broken this major resistance zone which has been holding the price for the last 30 days. Good morning, traders. First things first, Happy New Year to everyone who is watching this video, and let's see what is going on with Bitcoin today. So we see that the price has broken this major resistance zone which we have been under in the last 30 days. Also, as you remember, we have been shorting the Bitcoin from basically this zone here, and you can see it broke clearly, forming another fair value gap zone here, as you can see. So let me zoom in a little bit. So this zone here can be considered another fair value gap zone, meaning this zone, but here as well. So with that being said, although prices are still way too overbought, after breaking this major resistance zone, price has a potential of reaching this not $49,000, but more of like this zone here, meaning like 48k, or maybe even like 49k. So basically this zone here, which is considered as the next major like resistance zone as of now. So if we secure this daily candle above this resistance zone, then we will see some kind of this movement, of course. So small bounce to here and then movement to here. So this is the movement that we want to see, only if we see that this candle will secure the price above this resistance zone. If we don't see the price to secure this resistance zone, then we'll see that price has went for like short squeeze, and of course movement to lower zones and then to the lower zones further down. So why do we think that this kind of scenario will happen? It's pretty easy to say, because let's take a look at the liquidity heat map here. And what's catching our attention from the last times, we have been aiming for those like liquidity zones, and we're told there is a high potential of reaching like these zones before moving to the lower zones, of course. And looking further from here, we don't see any liquidity, like any major liquidity. So this liquidity that we are having here, it's like basically none to zero. But if you look on the lower side, so meaning this zone here, which is basically 34k, and this zone here, we see very clearly that those zones have very high liquidity zones, and also they align with our like these fair value gap zones. So first one would be somewhere like here. So as you can see, fair value gap zone is here, and few more are here as well. But if we look on even bigger scale, meaning a yearly time frame on this liquidity heat map, we can see very clearly that nothing is on upper zones, but on the lower side we see a ton of liquidity. Starting again from this our major zone, you can see billions and billions of positions to be liquidated, and the most being at 17.30 billion. And also same goes for this 26k zone, meaning like 16, 17 basically billions of dollars. So in combined, it's basically here like 30 billions, and here maybe as well 30 billions. So going back to the technical analysis, the game plan still remains the same, meaning we still see price to go for like some sort of correctional movement here, although this can be considered as a like liquidity sweep, or like as we told earlier, short squeeze, just to liquidate majority of positions, potentially of course leading people or the traders to open more long positions, opening again more liquidity to those zones here, and then a nice movement to the lower zones. So with that being said, although we are very close to the ETFs, which will happen basically in the next 10 days, most likely. So the decision of either it will be approved or not. And the halving is actually basically 4 months away. So January, February, March, April, somewhere maybe like 11th of April. And historically, as we always tell you guys, we or the markets do not like the pre-halving pushes. So either before the halving or after the halving, we will see this major drop. Most likely, looking at the current situation on the Bitcoin, we will see most likely a nice movement to the lower zones. And before we end this video, last technical analysis and from different perspectives. So Who has seen this image we shared multiple times on our channels? We told that we are in expansion zone. So although this time this expansion zone has been bubbled or like extended way too long, as you can see last times we had like very small expansions, this time it's way too like extended, meaning and leaving only like this small gap for like a reaccumulation zone. But always price of Bitcoin likes to go back to the reaccumulation zone before another bullish market. So what we would do, what we did actually was we sold like 50% or like, if I'm not mistaken, 55, something like this, 55% of Bitcoins. And now just waiting for this accumulation, like reaccumulation zone to be happened or to be reached. So most likely, as we told on other technical analysis, 24k or 34k, 26, 34k, and those would be our like last buy zones. Although we are entering potentially into the bullish market, we need to consider also the fact that bullish market won't start like very sharply, most likely. So there will be ton of liquidations happening thanks to all the economic news that we are currently having, or the wars, the debts all the countries are having, and all the conflicts between the countries, which will most likely push the oil and gold prices up and might show us some kind of like liquidity movements on the Bitcoin as well. But eventually, we still see Bitcoin to go for like a bullish market in the 2024. So, with that being said, always, always, always trade safe and trade smart. See you in the next session.